Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always stopping by. In today's video, I'll be teaching you how to cut an high waist pencil skirt or straight skirt. So if this is something that interests you, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get started. Welcome back guys. So this is the measurements we'll be needing: our waist, our hip, the hip length, and also the skirt length. So for the skirt length, we have different type of skirt length depending on your preference. So these are the different type of skirt length we have. So I'll start by measuring ½ inch at the end of my pattern paper or your fabric. You can also use your fabric to draft this, is the same thing. So you measure ½ inch over here. So that's what I'm measuring, just ½ inch, because we'll be adding a band to this skirt, and the band we'll be adding will be 1½ inch. So I'll just place the 1½ on that line, the line with the marker. So then I'll measure the skirt length I want. As you've seen the previous picture I posted earlier, depending on the length of the skirt you want, you go ahead and measure. Then you add 1½ inch as the hemming allowance. You had 1½ inch as the hemming allowance. Then you go ahead and measure your hip length, still placing the ruler, the tape rule like that. Then you rule a line at the points you've made. So the next thing we'll be doing is to measure our hip measurement at the hip length area. So your hip measurement divided by 4. If your hip is 36, so 36 divided by 4, which is 9 inches, you will measure it. Then you will measure 1 inch, which is the sewing allowance. So at this area too, you measure your waist measurement divided by 4. Then you had 1 inch for that allowance and 1 inch for sewing allowance. As I've said earlier, if you are using your fabric directly, it's still the same thing. You can just go ahead and draft on your fabric if you are confident enough. So the next thing is to measure my hip and the sewing allowance. So at this lower area, then I will connect the line. After connecting the line, I'll go ahead and connect the hip to the waist area. So now this is a basic straight skirt pattern. This is a straight skirt pattern. So the later part of this video, I'll be drafting a pencil skirt. So stay tuned if you're interested in the pencil skirt. So I'm trying to label the lines. So the lower part is my seam allowance, that is the 1½ inch we added at the lower part. That's the hip area and that's the waist area. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern. So now you go ahead and cut your pattern or your fabric depending on where you are drafting it on. So let's cut the back bodies. The difference between the back bodies and the front bodies is just the zip allowance at the back. The zip allowance, which will also serve as a slit opening for the back. So I'm measuring 1½ inch here. It's always okay to have enough at the slit allowance so that when you are making your slit, it can overlap. After that, you will place your front bodies immediately after the line you've ruled out. Then you pin it down so that it won't shake. So after that, you go ahead and cut out your back bodies. So after that, we'll go ahead and make our dart. For you to know the point at which you place your dart, you measure your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus ½ inch. Let's, for example, if your nipple to nipple measurement is 7, so 7 divided by 2 is 3½ plus ½ inch, that's 4. So you measure 4. Then as that area, you go down by 4 inch also. Go down by 4 inch. Then at this point you made at the waist, you will move to the left and right with ½ inch. Then from that ½ inch you've made, you connect it to the point you made earlier, just like the way I'm doing. So this is your dart. Now let's convert this pattern to a pencil skirt. So from the hip line, you go down by 5 inches. You mark 5 inches point over here. Then at the end of the skirt, you measure 1 or 1/4 or even 1.5, depending on how pencil you want it to be. Then you connect it down to the point you've made at the lower part over here. You connect it downward, and that's it about the pencil skirts. So after that, you cut this part out. So cutting this part out will make this skirt to be penciled. So if after cutting this out, you still notice that your skirt is not as fitted as the way you want it, you can still cut, like reduce it by ½ inch or even 1 inch, depending on how you want it. So for the band of the skirt, this pattern is folded into 2. You measure your waist measurement, that is your waist measurement divided by 4. Then you add your joining allowance, that is the joining allowance for the side, which was 1 inch. Then before you go up by the length of your band, you measure ½ inch. This ½ inch here will serve as the joining. We serve as the joining of this band to the skirt. Then you measure the 1.5 we took out from the skirt measurement. So you measure it here. So in case you use 1 inch or 2 inch for your band, so whatever inches you use, you just roll it upward. So that will serve as your band. So now this is the front band. I will explain how this will be cut on the fabric for you. So for the back, you do the same thing. So I'm trying to balance out this line. You measure ½ inch also, which will serve as the joining of the band to the skirt. Then you measure your band height, which is 1.5. You roll that out. Then the next thing you will do now is to measure. So you start with the zipper allowance, because this is the back. The zipper allowance, which was 1.5, we use. So you roll that out so that you know what you are doing. Then you measure your waist measurement divided by 4. Then you measure your joining allowance 1 inch. Then you roll it out. So after that, you just cut it out. I will label my band. So for those that are drafting directly on their fabric, so I'll be teaching you how to draft this band directly on the fabric. That is how to transfer the band to your fabric. So this is the fabric and it is doubled, like it is folded into 2 like this. This is for the front also. You see it is folded into 2, so you add paper stitch to it to give it structure. So my next tutorial will be on how to sew this skirt with a full lining, and the next tutorial will be on this skirt also. So stay tuned, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified when I post a new video. Bye.